Hello.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you see me?
We can see you and hear you. Can you hear and see us?
I can, perfectly. Sorry, I've got really spotty internet here, so I just switched it over to my phone, my phone data, and I think it's working better now.
All right. Okay. Well, hopefully it doesn't totally cause you to pay a lot of money.
It's all good. It's all good. Nice to see you both.
It's so nice to see you too. Thanks so much for hanging out with us for a little bit this afternoon.
It's an absolute pleasure. Hopefully there's no feedback here. I do have some headphones here that I can plug in, but if it sounds okay on that end, then I'll keep them out. I hear better without them.
You're sounding pretty good. I'm not hearing like any sort of echoiness.
Yeah.
I didn't look in a mirror before I jumped online though, so hopefully.
You look great. Yeah.
Well,
the beard is good. The hat is nice. It all looks good.
That's it. I trying to rock my COVID look as best I can.
I just tried to do. My sister taught me how to cut my bangs recently in a live feed, and I just trimmed them up a little bit. I'm noticing that I didn't do like the best job. Like there's like clearly a chunk here that's way too long and another chunk. Whatever. It's fine. I can see, so that's a win.
You both look great on that end too.
So yeah, this is our 8th flat file session, and we're kind of like loving this series. So that's been really nice. So basically, I know I gave you like a little bit of a lowdown, but just in case there's people that are going to join us that don't know, we essentially just wanted to make sure that we could have a way to show work that we have here with the public still. It's pretty hard running an artist studio and a residency where we get to normally like see people's work all the time and share people's work all the time, to go from like doing that for 10 years straight to just like not. Has been a bit of an adjustment, and you know, a big part of our life and what we love is like sharing what people do and celebrating people's work. So this was a way for us to keep doing that, but also to kind of like get to dig into some other people's drawers, which I really love to see, you know, other people's collections. We've ended up buying some work from doing this because we just like fell in love with the work that we've been seeing. Oh, you have a hello from Tara.
Tara! Hey Tara, how's it going? Tara, I'm gonna say hi here, and then that'll be the last of my texting here. So yeah, Tara works with us in the gallery here. Nice. Smokestack, and then she also runs the sales program at the Art Gallery of Hamilton. So she's incredibly busy.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you can kind of introduce yourself and all the different things that you do, that would be like a great way to start.
All right. Yeah, cool. Well, thanks again for having me on. My name's Laine. I work in a couple of different capacities. So I have my own art practice, which is pretty involved, and I've been printmaking for, gosh, I'm trying to think now. It's been a long time. And then I do printing for other people as well. So sort of collaborative printing and helping to sort of facilitate print-based art projects. And I do that here at my studio, Smokestack, which I run with my brother, Jonathan. We kind of have a split domains here, but it all sort of runs under the same roof. On his side, he runs the digital studio, and then on my side, I have the traditional studio, and this has been going now for probably, it's almost 7 years come June, so it's hard to believe. And then we run a small gallery up the hall as well. And some mounting and framing stuff. It's sort of weird to watch your baby grow up, and then you're like, wow, okay. I love printmaking. It's my life in many ways. Other than, of course, my 2 young children and my lovely wife, Erin. So.
You have two families: print family, human family.
That's right. Yes, totally. And both I love dearly. So.
So your shop, you work mostly in Mezzotint. I don't know if you have anything out that you can show. It's kind of a process that doesn't get talked about a whole lot.
Sure. Yeah, no, I absolutely do. I do have a Mezzotint that I was going to share as part of this.
Oh, well, then we can hold until
I thought, well, we should probably do that, but I can at least show a plate right now that's kind of out and about, something I'm working on. Let me see if I can I'll flip this around. And I don't know if you can really make this out here. It's probably kind of tarnished up. It's hard to see in this light. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just kind of block out the light here. But
the challenge of etching. Oh,
yeah,
it's like a flamingo?
It's a flamingo done as divine. The
oh
very
my
famous
God, yes.
Drag queen. So yeah, this will ultimately be in color, I think, I hope. It's going to be an extreme challenge for me, but this is sort of a plate that I'm working on currently, and it's one of these like really odd duck kind of processes. You take I can actually show you a couple of tools, and please like stop me where it gets way too geeky and you think like, okay, you've taken up more airtime than you probably should, Laine.
Well, no, I mean we love it. So I guess like if anybody's listening and they're like not interested, they'll probably just leave and come back later.
That's right. Don't get two print shops on the air and expect not to talk about print. Like, come on.
Exactly right.
So this is a rocker. This is.
Oh, you have a nice giant one.
I've got a whole bunch of them. This is sort of my collection of little babies there, and then there's like some baby ones over here. This was like one's like little touch up one there for I make so many mistakes, so I always got to go back in and nibble back the plates. But anyways, what this process really is sort of the original pixel, if you can think about it. It's a plate that's covered in burrs, and this tool, the rocker, it's got all these tiny little corrugated teeth on it. It's probably hard to make out on the phone camera here, but one goes over and over and over and over and over the surface of the plate for hours at a time. It's silly, really. I mean, why? There's no good reason for doing this other than the love of doing it.
And the like very like maybe this isn't the best choice of words, but sexy velvet black that you get from it that you just don't get from anything else.
That's just it. Like there's something that is so unparalleled in terms of what you can get with this particular technique, and that's the same as the case for so many other printmaking techniques, right? That's why we kind of do the things we do.
Yeah.
Anyways, so once the plate is covered in burrs, it will print 100% black. So if you can imagine all these sort of little micro teeth, they could kind of look like little hooks, and they hold lots of ink. It will print black. So I always say it's sort of like scribbling all over paper until it's black.
Yeah.
And then instead of using a pencil to draw, you use an eraser to draw into it. It's reductive. And so in the case of the Mezzotint, I use little scrapers, bigger scrapers, burnishers. And so what you do is you sort of flatten down and you sculpt the surface of the plate. And what that does is it holds varying levels of ink. So you can get a full tonal range. And that's the really amazing thing about Mezzotint. It gives continuous tone.
It's so gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I love it so much.
Well, we'll have to get you to make a couple, Chrissy.
I actually have a little plate that I rocked for like, I think 3 hours, and I was like, does it look good? And then I pulled a proof to see how black it was, and it was not. Like, you could see all the lines still, and I was like, I don't know. I gave up. Well, it's only like this big, the plate. I must be doing it wrong, I think.
I think it's one of those processes, and I teach workshops, and there's a reason why there's 500-600 of us out there in the world who sort of continue to do this, and that's not me saying this in this kind of weird boasty way. That's me literally saying that there's 600 people out there who, for whatever silly reason, think that this is a great use of time. It's slow, it's hard, and I always sort of say it is the slowest, hardest way of putting ink onto a thing. But you know, the payoff is that it forces you to slow down. It's almost this sort of anti-technology act of this, I don't know, of our modern condition. It takes people who maybe are moving very fast anyways and just slows it down, and you have to go step by step by step and kind of savor in doing the process. And that's something that I love about it. And you know, it's really forgiving. It gives a beautiful look, and I don't know, it's like, it's old. This sort of like skills live and die with whoever wants to hold on to it now, because it won't be around.
It's so true. That's so true. So in your shop, so you're in Hamilton, or like
That's right.
near Hamilton, right? Yeah.
We are right in Hamilton.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so people can come and take workshops. And do you, when you work with artists, do you reach out to them, or can someone reach out to you to say, hey, I would really love to do a project with you, or have a print done with you or something like that? How does that process work?
Okay, yeah. So from time to time we run workshops. They're sort of few and far between. Our community partners, places like Center 3, Open Studio, you guys at Sparkbox, there's a lot of sort of more the studios that can cater more to that kind of thing, and they're so well set up for it. So those community partners do amazing workshops there. What we do primarily is sort of depart from what the community shops can do, because they're usually so heavily accessed. Oftentimes it's really hard to run custom projects, or maybe artists just need a space where you don't have 10 people moving about the studio. You can kind of just have like your zone, and it's just you and a collaborative printer, and you're working through maybe sometimes for months at a time to produce editions, produce monoprints, screen prints, etchings, whatever it is. And so for me, at least particularly on the analog side, that's usually clients or artists who I've worked with for years. They've become incredibly good friends. We have
like Lisa, because we were talking about that before, right? Like Lisa came and did some work with you to learn like copper plate work, or at least that's what my understanding was.
That's right. And oddly enough, I ran a plate of hers yesterday. I'll get to that part a little after, because I have to do a plug for this project that I'm working in.
Of course.
Don't shoot me if I take up too much time. So I came out of a background of being a technician at both Open Studio and Center 3, and also a custom printer at Open Studio for a number of years. And one of the issues that always exists in those spaces, as wonderful as they are, is that it's sometimes really hard to control the balance between members and needing and absolutely deserving that time and space to be in the studio. It's a members driven space, whereas people who are oftentimes paying to have editions done, or they want to do a custom project, they really need it to be their studio. So when an artist is in working with me here at the studio or at Smokestack, it becomes their space. It's our time. It's a shared space where we can collaborate. Sometimes I'm in the driver's seat with them. Sometimes I'm a passenger and just pushing ink. It's so case by case, but it's always a wonderful experience to work with them. So, and they can call us, and they can cold call us and say, hey, we got a project. Like, I want to do this. Or sometimes it's again just me poking at people saying, I think you should really make some etchings, or really come make some screen prints with me. Let's have a laugh,
Yeah. That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, so it's a fun place to be in. Of course, on the digital side, it runs maybe a little bit more as sort of like, print to order kind of thing, where
right.
and also very much as well in the same step as the analog studio, where we have artists who have been working with us for years, and it's all very seated in collaborative work. So
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we get to the sharing?
Let's get to good stuff. Yeah.
Do you want to go first, or do you want us to go first?
Why don't you guys go first? I want to. Yeah. I've yapped on here, so.
So the first piece is one that I picked. So we always try to like think about this piece is done by an artist who's from Switzerland, but I think she might be in France still now. I'm not entirely sure. But her name is Stephanie, and I'm not going to attempt to say her last name because I'm probably going to say it wrong, but I will make sure that I write it. I hate last names. I actually looked up how to say your last name because I had to say it.
But we just avoid it.
But then we just
avoid.
So, yeah. But Stephanie was working primarily in illustration, doing like commercial work and book work, and then she obviously had her own kind of private, personal illustrative work that she was doing. And she applied because she wanted to come and learn printmaking. So she worked with Kyle and I. She'd never done any printmaking before, and she was here for I think 3 weeks, and she wanted to learn etching, she wanted to learn screen print, and she wanted to learn plate, like pronto plate lithography in the time she was here. So we basically spent a week on each process. And so this little etching was one that we did with her, and she wanted to do aqua tint, and we were doing at the time, and we still are, we just haven't done aqua tint in a while, like airbrush.
Right.
And we hadn't really played around with it too much, so it was pretty experimental. Our airbrush is like, my dad had it in his garage sitting for like who knows how long, and like hadn't really used it, so it's not like the best quality. It's fine.
It's an airbrush.
It's, you know, it does the trick. And so when we were at Queens, we did mostly like rosin, obviously, and so this is like, I did a little bit of like spray paint with Sean Caulfield when he was a visiting artist at Queens. Unfortunately, none of those successfully turned out. So airbrush is like is a learning curve. And then this is one she ended up doing by herself out of like probably like a couple days with you just testing.
Yep.
And I'm like, you know, I'm not mad at it. There's some like things that are going on that I don't think were intentional, but
I think that's, you know, even just before jumping on this conversation with you, I was sort of thinking to myself, isn't that just printmaking though? Like that's why we do what we do, and it's sort of sweet when there's these, you know, call them fuck ups or whatever it is. It's the art is in how gracefully it's sort of done, and etching. It's all those unexpected things. It's like the little scratch on the plate that somehow got there that just makes it that much sweeter. And you look at it and you're like, well, that's the vibe in it. And when I look at that print, what I love most is actually the textural element of it that comes from that sprayed aqua tint, you know, where it's so visceral and it feels like there's life to it. If it was too flat, well, then maybe would it be quite as exciting? Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I think too for her, what was really interesting is that a lot of her drawings that she was doing worked with negative space. So there's a lot of white space around these like little figures that are usually kind of interacting in a bit of an unusual manner with each other. And then with the plate, I think she was so interested in exploring exactly what you're saying, like the texture and how to use the whole plate. As you know, with copper plate etching, it's very time consuming, and it's not cheap. Like it's not like sitting down with a piece of paper and a pencil where you can like, you know, draw one simple figure on a big piece of paper, and maybe that paper was expensive and it cost you $5, but you know, that's $5 that you're like, I could erase this or I could add more. But with a plate, you're like, okay, I bought this piece of copper, it was expensive, then I filed it, then I basically
it's like, a commitment.
polished the entire, it's such a commitment. So then
I bought like 10 pieces of paper because you're making an edition and not just one.
And then
That's
I spent 20
right.
minutes printing each one of these. So you don't want to just draw like a tiny little button in the middle and leave all, well, I mean, I guess you can, but it's like, I don't know, for me it feels like I want to fill the whole space when I decide to do an etching.
Absolutely. Well, and that's like, I think that there's something so sweet about the commitment of etching that it makes it that much more appealing or that much more exciting to try. And I think artists love to try those things. So
totally. So yeah, that's our first share.
Right on. I'm going to walk into the other studio here. I'm carrying my phone, but I'm going to grab the prints that I'm going to bring over to the other side here. It's a little echoey in here. This is our digital studio here.
Oh, nice. Oh, holy, that is a large printer. How satisfying.
Yeah, we've got two of them there.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
That's lovely.
So this one, I hope it's okay, but this is like a two-parter.
Oh, that's totally fine. And if anybody has any questions about things or wants like close-ups shown better, you know, comments are always welcome and they make it fun and interactive. So feel free to chime in. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna jump. My face is gonna go off the camera here for a second. I'm gonna flip this around.
All right.
Okay, so these two prints, they're the same plate, but they're done in a different way. And
oh wow!
I'm gonna show this one first. This is Tyler Bright Hilton. He's an artist I've worked with for quite a long time now, and he works in etching, he works in drawing, and right now we have a full-on exhibition up the hall in our gallery of his work. So this is part of a large series that we printed here called Min-May Madeline Pryor on the Case of a Liar, on the Trail of a Liar, pardon me. And this is etching and aquatint as well.
I love that we both picked like a forest, like, and a single person sort of leaving a weird scene.
It's uncanny.
It's weird,
I love it.
but I love it.
I picked this because I was like, I think I know what they might like.
I do like this a lot.
I have to also say that like the biggest challenge of all of this was trying to figure out what the hell to pick, because I've got so many prints from so many places. But I love this one because of that. Like, it's just this stuff in here that you cannot get unless you're etching. Like, there's lines on lines. Like, there's black inside of black inside of black. It's so awesome. And there's like a rawness about this whole series that is just, like, it's the real deal.
Oh my gosh, this is wonderful.
So this work, this is months of printing. There's 20 plates, maybe more in the whole series, and then they were all letterpress. Well, it's hand letterpressing, I guess. I made polymer plates and then ran it through the etching press. And this
did you run them through the etching press before you did the mezzotint or after?
I think it's an etching.
Oh, it's an aquatint and etching. So the text came last, and so literally that is going through my mind, because it's like months of printing, and then it's like all we need is a tiny little chunk of text on there. It was fucking terrifying. And we watched
so terrible
because that happens. That's life. But it was pretty remarkable. And then after we did the editions for this and the full box set, then Tyler had floated the notion of doing basically a color edition, a couple breakout editions of these plates, but run in color.
Wow.
And when we did this, I think like my mind just sort of like, it just kind of blew open. Oh, here's Tyler in the conversation. Yay, Tyler! I love you, buddy.
You're so good.
Like, this is where I think it's just like it all came together. And to this day, I think this remains to be probably one of my favorite prints. I can't get it out of my head for some reason. It like it scratches every itch for me.
Yeah.
It's like it's Tiffany blue and like red wine, and they mix and they make this sort of Scooby-Doo kind of mystery. And
it's so good. I like love that
really,
so much.
It really reminds me of like vintage comics and like duotone printing.
Absolutely.
It's so good.
It's so like it's I love this ability for etching to like walk that line of sort of like whether it's illustrative or like highbrow art or whatever you want to call it. Like it just sort of exists in its own realm, and it's so unique. And I think that this print for me, it's all of those things, and I love it. It was such a cool project, and we used viscosity printing. So this is all just one plate. We wiped this dark maroon, or I guess sort of like red wine color, into the lines with a really thick ink, and then ran it was a thinner ink, pardon me, and then a really sort of heavy-bodied blue over top, and they mix and don't mix, which is kind of cool. So that's Tyler Bright Hilton right there, #1, and then the same plate run again.
So cool. Love it. That's fantastic. All right, this is Kyle's pick.
On our journey, this guy. This is a screen print onto wood with this like cut out section or routed out section with this plastic piping stuck in.
So this was like a trial print.
Yeah. This actually was done by Steve Newberry, who comes from the Hamilton region.
I know Steve.
Yeah.
Steve was our very first resident at Sparkbox Studio just over 10 years ago.
It's Seema's husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So like Steve came and he wanted to like learn how to do screen printing, and he had these questions of like, can I screen print onto this or screen print onto this? And I said, yes, of course you can screen print onto anything. And so there's all these like vertical ticks and marks in this piece of wood, because I think it's just like spruce plywood. Like it's not
I think it was
really...
like a scrap piece of wood that was like just kicking
I love
around.
It.
So yeah, Steve, like, if I think now he's doing mostly like digital work online, and I haven't checked in on Steve in probably a year, so I know he kind of shifts around quite a bit, but last I checked in, he was doing a lot of like online projects and stuff, like kind of kids programming and some different things. But when he was here in 2009, he was doing a lot of like installation projects and like ready-mades, and they were really like colorful and bright and always like filled with sort of humor, and they were just like exciting and fun and playful. And so he just wanted to like integrate like a playful ready-made sort of, I found this garbage on the side of the road and I turned it into something new aesthetic, which I really like about the way he works.
And it's such an interesting use of material there, they're so juxtaposed with one another and contrasting, this sort of like wire and wood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the very mechanical with the very natural, I suppose. So.
Well, and I think the like willingness to just like use a material that like would otherwise just like nobody would really care about it. I think with printmaking, like going back to talking about etching, where I feel like everything is so precious, and not every etcher works this way, but I do think like especially when you're like learning it, you're taught to be so careful with everything. Like pick a good paper, the ink choice matters, use the right materials, take that time, there is just sort of this like expectation of investment.
Right.
And then I think that's where like some of the like, I guess like newer, not that screen printing is new, but like newer processes by comparison, have a bit more of like a wildness to them, because people can be a bit more like experimental. They can make something that's a little bit more, what's the word that I'm looking for? Not edgy, but I don't know. It's a little bit more disruptive, I guess.
Yep.
And versatile. I mean, you can screen print literally onto like whatever you want almost. So, whereas like you can't really run whatever you want through the etching press.
You can try.
Yeah.
You're going to break a lot of stuff in the process, that's for sure.
That's right. Oh, I've seen some weird things go through. Some things that I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. But
do your etching presses have scars? Ours has like the embossment of like a quarter on it, and some like some like flathead like screw bits, like couple of scars.
There's one press. So I've got two presses. One is like, that's just for etching and intaglio. Like that is my first child there. It's like free range, free run, organic, you know, like, it doesn't get anything bad through it. This one I inherited, and I put many things through. I haven't scarred it yet, but I think that it has some scars on it from a time past, but I don't know, I tread carefully with both of them, or as much as I can, so.
Yeah.
I mean, but you gotta have some fun.
You do have to have some fun. Ours came from a high school, and I think the high schoolers maybe had too much fun with the press. But you know, it still does the trick. So
it really feels like the classic, like somebody left a pair of scissors on the press bed and tried to run it through, like, you know, like the things that like you forget about.
Yeah, the teddy bear that went through one day.
Oh man, I was the like student technician at Queen's for the second year print department, and the press management in a university is just like, it was so stressful, and I didn't like feeling at all responsible for some of the choices that those second years were making.
Yeah.
It was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, screen has like a bit more forgiveness, and
so much more forgiveness.
And yeah, it allows you to do things like this where you get to be a little bit more playful and experiment with different things, which I love.
There is sort of like an immediacy about it that maybe some of the intaglio or etching process is just it's not hard baked into it.
Yeah, totally.
Nice. Well, do you want to see another one?
Yes,
of course.
Okay, I'm going to run off screen here because it's over in the other room here, and I need two hands for this one.
All right.
Interesting. How's everyone else doing? How's the world beyond our space and Laine's? Good, I hope. I hope everybody is feeling all right.
Hi, Jacob.
It's sunny here finally. It's been like warm, which I love.
What is this?
Experimental. Yes, I love experimental. Yay!
Big print. Holy smokes!
Yeah.
I think that both of you have far more chops with screen printing, but I thought it would be fun to pull out a screen print, anyways, because I don't know. I know that both of you like screen printing, and you do screen printing, and when I thought of this one, this is my friend, Emily Filler. And sorry, it's big, so I'm going to try and I'll do one of those there. Emily and I have been working together for quite a while. She does a lot of collage work. She does a lot of, she's a painter, really.
You can feel that.
Yeah. And then a couple years ago, actually a few more than I probably think now, I like to believe that I lured her over into the dark side of printmaking, because she keeps coming back, and we worked together for just one or two times to start. She needed some stuff. She was looking to screen print onto some canvas and sort of work into it from there. Now a lot of her practice has actually switched to paper. She does a lot of painting still, of course, and work on canvas, but a huge part of her practice is a lot of collaged screen print. And this past year, she did a couple of these sort of drawings, I guess. And she said, I want to make some like real limited edition prints, because normally we just make like hundreds of samples of things. She takes them back to her studio and then like does what she does. And I hope everybody can actually check her page out. She has some really incredible stuff. But she said, I want to just make some like actual like finished prints just for fun. And so we did, and this is about 14 layers, and we printed it all here by hand. We don't have a boom here, like that's the vacuum table there. So, you know, it's like there's a big flat in behind here, and of course the main graphic image. And so we had two of us on the squeegee pulling that, and then just like all these little pops of color. And I actually thought to some of your work, Chrissy, that is like really kind of like that. There's like a similar vibe, I feel, that, you know, this sort of like poppy, like, I don't know, it's fun. So, yeah, and then there's also sort of like this like nice mishmash of like, it's almost like digital meets sort of like retro-y analog stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it.
I like the way that ink, like hand printed ink, I don't know if you can make this out, but like it's like raised.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I thought this one was a fun one, and it makes me really happy. You know, it's like springtime and flowers, and I don't know. I thought it would be an apt choice to pull out of the flat files today.
This one was good.
Yeah, I agree. No, I also love that the color is like floating over the black. It's really nice. And the kind of like scribbly drawn flowers alongside the like photorealistic flowers, and the fact that they have that like cut out white space around them, I really like that too.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was like, it sort of was a nice reference to like the real world and this sort of like digital kind of stuff, and like splicing and cutting up. And it really had that kind of like, I don't know, like iPad paint kind of vibe. It's kind of fun. But like
it totally
turns big print. I don't know. It was, and they're like, it was a lot of work to pull a big print like this, more so than I thought even going in. Like it was days of work. You know, we don't have a big like auto press or anything like that, so it's all just like cold hard labor.
I totally sympathize. Like whenever I have clients that come to me to like, hey, can you print this? And they're like, how big can you print? And I tell them the maximum printing size is, you know, like 13 by 19. But that's a really hard print to make. And then they say, I want to make like a 12 by 18 inch print. And it's like right up to the edges of the inside of the frame. And it makes me cringe a little bit. Like, 'cause it's so hard to pull a full screen. It's like not easy.
That's right. Like, I mean, even if it's a smaller size, like just like if it's tucked that tight on the screen, like you're gonna fight the good fight on it.
You really are. Yeah. It's unavoidable.
and along the way, there's always gonna be like a couple of weird tears or whatever. But like, you know, in the end, again, there's like any little bits of misregistration or whatever. And there's a few that are in here, like it almost just makes it sweeter. Like, I don't know. This is me being probably pretty persnickety, but like, you know, they're just little hairlines or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's also where I have to kind of check myself sometimes and like think about like why would you do this printing instead of just running it digitally? Well, it's because you want that off registration.
Right?
You want those graceful fuck ups, those things that you know were human and were of the hand.
Well, it's also that, like, you were talking about continuous tone, right? Like, the difference between, like, an inkjet printer, which puts down, like, hundreds and hundreds of little tiny dots. Screen print is, like, a unified, solid chunk of pigment. Right?
Yeah.
And there is something sexy about continuous tone.
100%.
Well, just, like, the richness of that, like, green that's up at the top, and how it just, like, leaps out at you because it is against that sort of like half-tone bitmap situation behind it.
Yeah. And there's something
Yeah,
like
look
really
at that.
sweet
So good,
about
so solid.
just this. Yeah, like it's just flat. Like I
Yeah.
just love that. Like you know that is solid flat ink on a thing.
Yeah.
And it's it has depth that you simply can't get any other way.
Mm-hmm. And like the when a screen printing ink dries, like I mean, it's hard to see through a cell phone camera, but the texture of it, like I do a lot of painting, and we've had a lot of painters here painting in all sorts of different materials, and yes, sometimes they get a nice flat color, but it is nothing like a flat screen print ink.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things that comes hard baked with the process, and I think that's what like we're always chasing is like that yumminess of what ink can do.
That's a beautiful print. I love it.
Cool, thanks.
All right.
Well, thanks, Emily.
So we sort of have a duo as well for our last one, and honestly, I don't know the up or down of these. They're sketches by a family friend of mine. So these are old. These are like probably from I want to say like 70s or 80s by an artist, Don Dawson. So he was an artist in, I don't know exactly where Don grew up, but he became friends with my mother and father when I was a child. And my dad's also an artist, and he and Don just became like fast friends. And Don passed away several years ago, and he is the artist that we transitioned our national award over to the name of, our Dawson Award. And so we made the award and the bursary in Don's honor. And a gentleman in Britain,
was it Britain?
I think so.
I want to say Germany, but
or maybe it was Germany. I don't know. I can't really remember. That's terrible. But anyways, so Don lived in Europe for a really long time. He spent like a good portion of time in Greece, and while he was there, he became friends with this man who found us through our website, and he had a whole collection of Don's work that he was like, "Can I donate it to you so that, you know, if you ever want to do a fundraiser for the residency."
Like it was his gallery that had the work.
It was either his gallery or a gallery that he knew. Anyways, he ended up with this large collection. It's been a few years since we've gotten these, which is why my story is hazy. And I don't really know how to do like an online fundraiser of art, and so we haven't really done it yet, but it was so amazing to just go through all of John's work. He had no next of kin, so the like I don't know the county or I don't know how it works, but we lost all of his work. Like we were basically his family, but he had no will. So this is kind of a lesson in life
so without a will, all of his art was possessed by the municipality essentially, and then likely thrown out in the garbage. So if you are an artist and you happen to be of an age category that is a concern, you should definitely write in your will that the artwork goes to X or Y. Otherwise it goes to
nobody.
Well, if there's no, I forget how it works. If there's no power of attorney, it doesn't go to anybody. But if there, whatever.
He didn't have any of those things. He was just like, you know, like a guy that lived alone and made work and had wonderful stories, but didn't think about those kinds of, you know, parts of life. And so the fact that we have any of his work is just so special to me. And there's just something like really funky about them, and you know, it has like a time stamp on it to me that's like so of that generation, which I like love.
Well, I think what I really like about these is that they have like that quality that like Mezzotint and Aquatint and etching have, where it's these like deep tones and these subtle shifts in color, like hanging out in the corner of this one, for instance. Like there's all these really wonderful subtle black lines and different colors that hang on to it.
Jacob, I would take all of your prints, please. Yes, write that.
Oh, nice. Hey, Jacob.
It is a watercolor.
I haven't seen him in a while.
and pen and ink. So all of the color work is watercolor, and then the sort of the dotting is what looks like pen. There's no signature on these. I think these were just studies. I don't.
Incredibly cubism, like an application of like tone and texture hanging out on top of this.
I love how textural they are, and like they really are they're organic to the max. Like I love all the sort of like the drippy things that are going on there, and it almost feels like acid. You know, like have you ever done like a spit bite or something where it's just like,
oh, you're not talking about the LSD kind?
Yeah. Well, like just like the way that materials can like interact unexpectedly. I think that like that's really coming through in these. Like it's totally unhinged, and then also controlled just by the way that there's those hard lines that run through it.
Yeah. No. Exactly. I don't know what Kyle wants me to show you, but
like whatever, like this.
Yeah.
Like, you know when you do like a touche wash? And like you throw in like another little bit of like water or something or oil that like kind of pushes all of the ink away. Yeah. It has like some really nice organic components to it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. They're just really magical. So cool. And they bring back good memories for me, so.
Yeah. Great choices.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'll pull out my last one here. I figured I would show one of mine. I hope that it's not too narcissistic, but
no.
No, you should show one of yours. Your work is amazing. Like
thanks, dudes. So this one, I'll just grab whatever surface is free here. So this is a Mezzotint, and not this, but what I'll show you here. Okay. There we are. So this is a Mezzotint. There we are.
I love that you make your plates circle.
How? You know, do you have a metal cutter?
Kyle.
I do not own a metal brake, so I cut all of our plates down with a jigsaw.
Oh yeah, okay, that'll work. Like I sometimes use a jeweler's saw, or like I'll cut like hard cuts, and then I'll sort of nibble it in with a file. There's all kinds of ways of doing it. So yeah, this is a Mezzotint. This was done in 2016, and being a prairie boy, and as well as the mountains, I grew up in Calgary. Obviously, I'm going to make pictures about the ocean, of which I know very little about. But it's always been this sort of like fun source of inspiration for me. I like imagining what could be down there at the bottom of the sea. And this was, you know, I always feel like my work is like one part like serious and like really technically driven, and then I like just like dumbing it down a lot and like kidifying it, or having like a bad pun or like a dad joke that goes along with it, and like it.
So what's the dad joke here?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a dad joke here. I mean, I just wanted to make something pretty. Like I thought that there was something kind of fun about two whales playing hide and seek, and it came at a time when I just like can remember it was 2016 when we had our second child, Felix, and I don't know, maybe these sort of like coincided with one another. Also, like I like playing with scale a lot in my work, so like to have these giant whales seem so small against this even bigger giant clam. And I don't know, I think that like Mezzotint, it's kind of amazing like what kind of detail you can get out of this, and I really love details. So for me that is definitely a big draw to this. I like that I can can just go like deeper and deeper and deeper into details with the Mezzotint.
So pretty.
It is so nice.
And this one,
Leanne is saying there's a children's book called Pearl that is coming to mind when she's looking at this. Also, Tyler agrees that dad jokes are the best jokes. The best jokes.
I'm gonna have to check out that book for sure. I also wanted to mention this one was printed in kind of an interesting way, and it might be hard to make it out with the lighting here, but it's actually a 2-plate print. So the first plate is actually just a really soft gradient. It moves from yellow to this kind of like slightly blue cast. Unfortunately, my light is just like kills it here, but it kind of gave the sense of luminosity and the shifting color. And I usually print these with not like a full black. I print them with a lot of blue or a lot of pigment in them, so it almost makes them feel richer. So there's something kind of nice about working with color to make that happen.
Yeah,
so yeah, that's my.
It's gorgeous.
Thanks, guys.
So we have just over 5 minutes left before Instagram kicks us off. So if you want to make your plug.
I do want to make my plug. So at the studio here, we've kicked off a great big project called Etching for Gray Harbor. And anybody who's been following along on our on the Smokestack Instagram feed may have been catching on to, like all the live things that we've been doing. But a friend's tattoo studio burned down. It was the victim of a pretty serious arson fire about 3 weeks ago, and there were a number of artists who are lost all their work. The studio's gone, and we're just trying to raise some bucks. So we've put together 20 artists to join the cause, and they're all tattoo artists. And Lisa's actually one of them. She doesn't tattoo anymore, but they've all put together plates. I sent out etching plates for them, and they're all coming back. We've been printing them out over the past few days and weeks. And next week they all go on sale, $100 per print. They're editions of 8, and 100% of the proceeds go to them. And it's been a really good community effort. And I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek at some of them here.
So this is all like tattoo artists making etchings?
Yes, they've never.
This is awesome.
Many of them have never made an etching before.
Man, this is amazing. So like Christy and I have done like a lot of high school workshops where like we come into a class and give out 30 copper plates roughly about the same size. And what we get back from the high school class is not this cool.
Of course not. But sometimes they're surprising.
Awesome. These are amazing.
Oh, I like that one.
And so I just wanted to take a really quick second to plug this project, because I think it's really cool and it's really connected. It's connected the community. It's connected communities of artists together in a really funky time, and it's fun. You know, we do a lot of custom work here, but we also like to be a community partner at the studio, and I love working with people. I love meeting people through print, and so so there you have it. And there's all the plates there. I don't know.
Oh, so satisfying.
This is the one that if you tune in this afternoon, these two are getting run. These are our last two, and this one here was actually made with a tattoo gun. The artist actually used a tattoo gun to make that. So I'm really excited about these.
That is so cool. Well, yeah, if you have it, and I'll try to make sure I can share it on our stories.
Oh, Tyler, you're too sweet, man. I'm just reading his comment.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Cool.
No,
well, it's been fabulous chatting with both of you guys. So nice to see you. I'm thinking back to 3-4 years, maybe 5 years ago. I think that was the last time I saw you in Portland. So
yeah, it's been
I'm due for a visit, and maybe even to the day. Who knows?
Yeah, but it's close, definitely.
Close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no,
I'd love to get out to Sparkbox at some point to hang out, make some friends, visit.
Yes. Well, we should try to work on something where we come to you and you come to us, and we'd do some kind
Let's
of
make that happen.
together. Yeah. Okay. Sounds
We'll
good.
have some press time.
Awesome. It was so
All right.
awesome hanging out.
By the
with
way,
you.
while Jacob is in here, just so I can show you. Jacob, you're wrapped up here in the studio too, buddy. He gave that to me.
We have a different version of that one. That one's a great one.
I think that one was a postcard or something like that from years ago. Anyways.
Oh man,
Cool.
so good. Awesome, Laine.
Oh,
Have a great weekend.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for inviting me on to chat about this. I think it was super cool, and congratulations on all the amazing work you're doing out there at Sparkbox.
Thanks.
Ditto to you. Yeah. All right. Bye.
See you,
Have a great
dudes.
weekend,
Happy
everybody.
printing. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.